So, anyways, I go back home. I give me something to eat. Da 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 this. I lock my door. Da da this. Baby, I put the what you call it? Like the thing at the top, the bell thing at the top, so they can even get through there. Because you ain't finna come out here through the middle of the night, anyways. You need to come back in the next business day by 5 p.m. or your shit gonna be gone. Period. Point blank. Okay. Play with your mama, not me. Okay. Welcome back to another episode of Satan Pretty and Chaos with Kai. Okay, y'all, this episode, I don't know how deep it's gonna get, but it's definitely a good, story time to know. Okay, but for this episode, we are going to talk about the importance of forgiveness. Okay, especially since we got Thanksgiving coming up. Okay, we got Christmas, but especially with Thanksgiving coming, Thanksgiving, give thanks. Isn't it giving? Why wouldn't I want to forgive somebody? So I'm gonna give y'all a little background, but in this episode, I really want to talk about how I learned to forgive my dad and how did God have me go through this situation to let me to realize, like, listen, if you can forgive this person, then girl, you gotta forgive your daddy. You get what I'm trying to say? So I'm gonna be, as honest and transparent. But first things first, I found a scripture. Okay, if I feel like it's resonating what it is, so I got one. Okay, now this is for Acts 13 and 38. Okay, be it known unto you, therefore, men and brethren, that through this man is preached unto you the forgiveness of sins. Okay, listen, let me tell y'all first. And this happened like 4 years ago. This is 2024. This happened in 2020. So, baby, when I say God been working on me, okay, He been working for me, okay. So, also, a big way in how I learned forgiveness is through Pastor Michael Todd. Is it Todd Michael? No, Pastor Michael Todd. Okay. He had Transformation Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that's how I learned, forgiveness. So at that time, he had a series, and it was called Forgiveness. No, it was called The Gift of Forgiveness. Okay, if you go to YouTube, and this is not no type of marketing, okay, but this is something that I learned from in real life at real time, and I'm not gonna not tell y'all, okay? So I just want to let you know, you can go to YouTube. Okay, his church is called Transformation Church. Okay, Michael Todd. Okay, and the sermons is called Forgiveness. Okay, it's called The Gift of Forgiveness, how to forgive someone. And he called it Forgiveness University. Okay, so I graduated, y'all. 3:03 on the clock. Okay, so I'm going to give y'all a little background. Let's go ahead and hop into the story time. So I'm the oldest of 8 siblings. Okay, so my mom and dad, they had 3 kids. And then my youngest brother, he have a separate dad. And then on my dad's side, my dad and his wife, they had 3 kids, but his wife already had 1 child prior to them getting married. So I'm the oldest of, on both sides, I'm the oldest of 8. So I've always known who my dad is, but I don't know my dad. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I know my dad, but we don't really have a relationship. I mean, I do know he liked the Bears. I can give you that much. I know he liked beer, and I know he liked the Bears. Okay, so if you like the Bears, I don't know. You might see him at a game or something. I don't know. And I'm gonna be talking, from like past life. So that was, in 2020 when this happened. And so, anyways, at that time, I was in therapy. Also, shout out to Dr. Coffin. Okay, if you are in the mirror, I'm just plugging everybody, but I don't care. I'm gonna do it anyway. Shout out to Dr. Coffin. Okay, she is amazing. Okay, so if you are in the Miami area and if you're looking for a therapist, 10 out of 10. And I did a lot of growth, a lot of growth. Okay, but anyways, at that time I was in therapy. At that time, I also was in and out of the hospital at that time due to my health. So I actually was on a leave with work at that time. And, I was going through, depression. I was actually diagnosed with depression, anxiety, severe stress, and social anxiety at that time. And I really wanted to work on learning how to forgive my dad at that time because I felt like my dad and his wife, my stepmom, I didn't want to harp any no negative energy. I didn't want to have any hatred, any spite, or nothing towards my, youngest sibling on that side of the family, just because they had the luxury of, even growing up with my dad in the same household. You know what I'm trying to say? So me and my therapist, we walked through that a lot to help me on my healing journey. And so at that time, I also was watching, the sermons, the series of, the gift of forgiveness. And so at that time, God had me to do something crazy. God had me do something crazy. I literally prayed to God and I was like, look, God, I want to learn how to forgive my dad. I want to make sure that I don't have any type of, ill intent or any, spite or feel no type of animosity or jealousy towards my other siblings because, it is what it is. That is a luxury. You get what I'm trying to say? And so I just felt like that I didn't want to allow my heart to turn, any type of way. You know what I'm trying to say? I didn't want to stop being who I am, and, be cool and nice to everybody else and, have any type of, unforgiveness or resentment or, not want to forgive anybody, to be quite honest. And so I said, God, help me to go through whatever the process or help me just want to learn how to forgive somebody, right? So let me tell you, be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for. Because God will literally answer your question and it may not be in the way that you would like it, but I guarantee you'll learn the lesson. When it comes to God, God don't care about how your feelings is when it comes to how the lesson comes. All he cares about is the fact that you learned the lesson. Let me drink some of my tea. So at this time, I was getting to know somebody, and it's not that I didn't know them. Like, I knew of the person. You get what I'm trying to say? The person, let's call the person Martin. Okay. So Martin, we was cool. We was getting to know each other. We was just homies. It was never nothing that was, deeper than that. You get what I'm trying to say? So me and Martin was, conversing one day, and he ended up telling me that his roommate had passed away, right? Unexpectedly. And so Martin was very, worried and concerned because Martin didn't know pretty much like what he was going to do because I guess the unit where he was staying at was really expensive. So Martin wasn't going to be able to afford to pay for the whole thing because, it was downtown Miami at the time. And so it was pretty expensive, right? So tell me why God told me to let this man move in my house. Now listen, when God first told me that, I said, Lord, I know you lied. I ain't gonna lie, I literally laughed in his face, and maybe I shouldn't have laughed, but I said, why it had to be me? You know what I'm trying to say? In my head, I'm like, why would you tell me to even do something like that? You know what I'm trying to say? But also, I know at that time Martin was like that basically that Martin would have to move to a whole nother state. He would have to move back home. He had limited options. So God put it on my heart to welcome my home. Okay. So I end up telling Martin, first of all, I talked to God again, and God confirmed for me to allow this man to move in my house. God said, let him move in, and also don't pay nothing. Okay. Do this as a blessing to bless this man. Okay. So I said, okay, God, if it was a way that you was gonna test me, you test him, because I don't want nobody moving in my house. Okay, I like my own space, respectfully. I like my own space. But I also know, again, at that time, I'm learning forgiveness. So I knew at that time that whatever the purpose of God wanted me to allow this man to move in my house, I knew that it was connected into me learning how to learn forgiveness and learning how to forgive my dad. I knew that from day one. I literally told Martin, like, look, this might sound crazy, and I ain't even up on it, but God told me to let you move in for a couple of months so you can get on your feet. And that's just what it was. I said, and Martin didn't initially wanna do it, and I'm like, I guarantee you, I don't want you to pay for nothing. You don't need to pay no bills. You don't need to do nothing. I just want you to just, do whatever you need to do. Work, save your money so you can get you another place so you ain't got to worry about going back home. And I just felt like that was the right thing to do also, because if you're somebody that ever lived in another state when you don't have no family there, it's different when you got family that live in the same city. Hey, you can go to your cousin's house, your auntie house, or whatever, X, Y, and Z, and get your stuff together. That's different when you got to go all the way back to a whole nother different state. You know what I'm trying to say? So, been there, done it. So, I was like, okay, cool. So, Martin ended up, moving in. Everything was fine. Everything was fine. Okay, at this time, I'm in grad school. He doing what he needs to do, work, save, figuring out places, this, that. Cool. I end up, as I said initially in the beginning of the video, I was in and out of the doctor or whatever because I was having issues with my stomach. So at that time, I had to do an endoscopy, right? Granted, my close friends was already out of town, okay? And my family was all the way in Chicago at that time, right? Martin said that he was basically going to, he was going to be there because I think the doctor said that like I couldn't drink or eat nothing, I couldn't drive or nothing like that, right? So my mom initially was going to, fly there, but because the person, because Martin said that he was going to be there, whatever, my mama didn't do that or whatever, okay? Anyways, I have the process, and then also when we get to the doctor, we also couldn't leave our phones. Okay, so that means when you go to the procedure, either you need to have like a family member or someone that's staying there, or you need to just have them on it so that they can call them and tell them when to come pick you up. So, anyways, I get done with the procedure, and the doctor calls him. He don't answer the phone. So at that point, I'm like, nigga, I can't drive. So now I'm like, okay, I need to come up with some other alternative. And at that point, again, when we went to the hospital, they said we couldn't leave no phones. So that means this man got my keys to my house and he got my cell phone. And so I had to try to call, I think I had to call one of my friend numbers because I know that one by my heart. And I ended up having to have my homie ex-girlfriend come pick me up from the hospital. So when I tell you at that point, I was livid because not I had a procedure. And then not only that, I didn't had to call my homeboy ex-girlfriend come and pick me up from the hospital because whatever you got going on, and I don't care what you got going on, but it ain't more important than this because we already talked about this. Okay, this is an agreement. You get what I'm trying to say? And if it's something that you wasn't able to do, you should have communicated that so then I could have made other plans. You get what I'm trying to say? So I asked him, like, what time are you planning to come back this way? Because ultimately you got my house keys and you got my car keys and you got my cell phone. So I can't do nothing. After the medicine, get off me. I can't go nowhere because I don't got my car keys. You got my cell phone. So I basically can't do no motion, you know? And so he's like, oh, he'll be back in a couple hours, give him like 2 hours. 2 hours, never end up, came and came past. So now it's like 7 o'clock. I'm like, are you tripping? Like, are you good? Because why you still ain't came back? You got all of my belongings. Not even including the fact that I literally just had a process. At that time, I was scared. I was worried. I've never had no type of process that even put me under. You get what I'm trying to say? So the fact that I was even put under and the fact that she wasn't here to pick me up, that already pissed me off because I don't care why you wasn't there. You get what I'm trying to say? Don't put me in a situation like that because that's very disrespectful and selfish. You get what I'm trying to say? I think I told him, like, you know, bring me some tea when you get back. He said he finna be on his way back. I said, okay, cool. Grab me some tea, X, Y, and Z from Starbucks. The Negro never came back. So now it's midnight, and now I'm livid. Because at this point, this process was in the morning, and you still ain't back. So you playing with my top. You must have thought I was one of those. You must have forgot that I'm from the hood of Chicago. Okay? But you better thank God that I was delivered and that I didn't really take it there. You want to know why? Because the old me, baby, that's how I know the Lord been working on me. That's how I know He's been working on me. Okay? So, anyways, so at this point, I'm on the phone with my mama. My mama is hot. My mama like, send me the number. Don't do this, do that. I'm like, Mom, calm down. But my mama was mad because she could have just took a flight. You know, my people ain't like that. If it's something serious, then they gonna do what needs to get done, regardless of what's going on. So don't even do that. Mind you, I did this trying to be a blessing for you, but you know, it is what it is. Let go and let God. Okay? So anyways, God ended up telling me, like, don't forget. Like, so with my car, I got 2 sets of my key. So it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, I got my second key. So I go in my safe and I get my second key. So I'm like, okay, he got me bent. Okay, I'm finna pull up on Shorty. Okay, because who you think you finna play with? Do you look like one of them Miami girls? No shade, Miami girls. But you think I'm one of those? No, this is not that. So I'm like, damn, how am I gonna get there? Like, I can get in my car, but I don't know no GPS. Okay, so I'm like, but thank God my car got a GPS thing in the car. Let me tell you how funny. I ain't never used it, but I used it that one time. I'll tell you right now to this day. So I'm like, all right, I got something for this Negro. I'm finna pop up. So I get in my car. I grab my second key. Mind you, I couldn't lock my house door because I ain't got no keys. So I'm like, okay, my dog, he a thug. And I live in a very good area. So I'm like, ain't nobody gonna come in there and try to steal nothing. I don't suggest this, but I had to do what I had to do for that time. So anyways, I get down there. I find a unit in the X, Y, and Z. Now, the reason I know what's the apartment and everything, because I'm the one that set up the internet. Okay? Made sure he get a little discount and everything. Okay? So anyways, I go to the unit. I'm walking over. I'm hearing music. I said, this man got music playing? Oh, baby, I knocked on that door real quick. Knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. This girl opened the door. She like, oh. When I say it right now, it was kind of funny the way it happened. But it's not funny because you just don't do people like that. So I just know God ate his ass up. Because who you playing with? You must have forgot. But anyways, so anyways, she like, ooh, I said, yeah, go get Martin. Go get Martin. Tell Martin I need my phone and my keys right now. So Martin comes to the door. And so Martin like, here go your stuff. I said, I don't even want to hear it. You got 24 hours to get all your stuff out of my house right now, or it's going to be in the dumpster. And if you think I'm playing, think again. Listen, I go back to the house. I said, baby, I got my keys. I got my phone. I said, you know what? People are foolish sometimes. I said, but Lord, I see why you had me to let him to move in. The reason that he allowed me to, no, the reason that he told me to allow him to move into my house was so I can learn forgiveness from my dad. At that time, I'm like, you know what? You just very foolish. You obviously aren't smart. You obviously don't really care for other people. And me and Martin have talked about some real deep stuff, even as far as like trauma from his parents and passed down. So it's not like it was completely like surface level, as far as like friend level. You get what I'm trying to say? So, anyways, I go back home. I get me something to eat. This. I lock my door. This. Baby, I put the what you call it? Like the thing at the top, the bell thing at the top, so they can even get through it. Because you ain't finna come out here through the middle of the night, anyways. You need to come back in the next business day by 5 p.m. or your shit gonna be gone. Period. Point blank. Okay. Play with your mama, not me. Okay. And so, anyways. So, no, I think I gave him 48 hours. 2 business days, I guess. But anyways, the next day, I text him this afternoon, and he was like, "What time can I come?" I'm like, "You come at this time, this." And I just really just told him. I just told him, like, I want you to understand that it was really very much so about the principle, because one, you don't do stuff like that for, towards somebody. And honestly, I ain't gonna lie, I really read this man for filth. I'm not even gonna lie. Let me see if I got to. Well, first of all, one thing about me, I'm the queen of receipts. So, what was so crazy? The day that it happened was like on December 23rd. The next day, I end up having to go back to the hospital because I was having like some type of like bleeding issues. At that point, I was over being out of the doctor because I had been in the doctor like 7 times. So I've been poked like on each arms, okay, over here, my vein, like 7 times. So they had to find a different place to pull, blood every different time. But anyways, I went because, I was having complications after the endoscopy. So I text this Negro while I was at the hospital. I probably went a little bit too far. But at that time, I didn't care. So I'm going to tell y'all what was said back then. I'm going to try to, split it up a little bit back in there. So mind you, the time when I had to go back the second day, that was Christmas Eve. Okay, Christmas Eve. Okay, and so I'm just like, this is crazy. So now that I'm in the hospital, and this was in the afternoon, I told this man, let me see, I'm going to try to, not say everything. So, and let me tell y'all. So let me tell y'all what I end up, saying to, Martin. So, and I'm going to try to block some stuff out because, my intent is not to expose nobody, but to get y'all to understand, like, how I had to forgive that person. Okay? So I texted him and I was like, what's really crazy is that I'm at the hospital right now on Christmas Eve and you wouldn't even know or care. Not only did you not pick me up after my procedure, but you never once checked on me to see how the procedure went and how was my well-being. I said, you act as though I went to a regular doctor. I had to be put to sleep for the procedure. I said, you knew that I was scared before the procedure and you completely abandoned me and didn't show up for me when I always showed up for you. I said, on top of that, you know that you had my phone and my keys. I said, you have no idea how I even got in my house or how I got home and if I had any complications after my procedure. I'm like, I wouldn't even be able to call 911 if I was dying, which is true. Okay? I said, you knew that I couldn't be driving and I couldn't fend or provide for myself for this one day, and you just said F me. I said, what's crazy is you put me on the back end just to have a kickback knowing that I have absolutely nobody here for me. Because again, all my friends went out of town for the holidays. I said, the fact is, you've been in my shoes before and felt like you had nobody to have your back. As much as you say that nobody have your back 100% and I had your back 10 toes down, and you couldn't do something as simple as reciprocate what I gave and just show up. I'm like, what I gave, and I showed up and I was just being supportive. Several times you had other things going on and I spoke life into you. I'm like, I did nothing to deserve this, especially not the disrespect. I don't know about the people in your circle or what you call a friend, but this is not what you call a friend. I said, this is where you got me effed up. As much as, okay, the other part, I did hit below the belt, and I would not suggest this, so I'm not even going to say that part. But I will say that there's no excuse for what you did and how you treated me, but I hope you get the healing that you need and don't hurt anybody else. And so I'm like, I don't need a response or explanation. Anything that you left in my possession is just like you in the trash. Listen, I did tell him that he could come get us. Well, I said that after the fact. He came and got one box, but he didn't get the other one in the time frames that I told him. So it absolutely went to the duster, in the dumpster. I thought I was playing, but clearly he thought that I don't play with other people's kids. So the man didn't respond that day. I ain't even gonna tell y'all what happened the other time because it don't even matter. But when I tell y'all, at that time, I realized that I forgave that man like the same night. The same night that I felt like he abandoned me and he wasn't a good friend and he just said forget it, that he was decided to be selfish. At that time, I was like, Lord, I forgive him. But then I realized that if I can forgive him when he left me possibly on my dang gone deathbed, why is it that I can't forgive my dad? So at that point, I realized, you know what? I do forgive my dad, and he may not be perfect, I'm trying to say, and maybe it's just thing, maybe he just didn't know all the right ways on how to be a dad or how to be a father or how to be, maybe he just didn't know, I'm trying to say, but regardless, I still, love him and I forgive him, and I just left it like that, and I forgave him. That didn't necessarily mean that I had to have a relationship with him. But I did forgive him, and I don't think that he even know because I never told him and I never said anything about this. So I might actually send him this episode and he might actually hear this and watch this and realize that this is how I learned how to forgive him, to be quite honest. But I just realized that if I could forgive him, I got to be able to forgive my dad. And so from now, that's why I always just forgive people. I try not to hold grudges for people. And even if I don't, like how certain things went away, at some point, I've always make it my business to forgive you. Now, just because I forgive you, that does not mean I'm going to fuck with you. Okay? Just because I forgive you do not mean that I want to be friends with you or that I want to be in your face or that I want to do, kumbaya and stuff. I don't want to do that. Because I already know what it is. You know what I'm trying to say? And now that I'm more evolved where I'm at now, and this was 4 years ago, now I am so proud of my dad. I learned recently that he's going to therapy. So shout out to you for going to therapy. And I'm just proud that at least you want to work on yourself and be the best version of yourself. So I can't get mad at that. So I hope that somebody gets something from this and realize that sometimes when you ask God to, learn how to forgive or learn to have more discernment or how to forgive people from a betrayal, when somebody, did a backstab or somebody cheat on you or when somebody do something dirty to you, that sometimes you still have to find it somewhere in your heart to understand that you still have to forgive them no matter what. And you got to realize that forgiveness is not for the other people. It's for yourself. It's for your own soul. It's for your own path. It's so that you can continue to elevate. Because when you hold on to grudges, I know it sounds like I know my accent, but when you hold on to grudges and when you allow hate to, stir in your heart, then you will never prosper. You will never prosper. You will never prosper. So if you're trying to figure out why it's not having no changes, you got to check your own heart. Check yourself. 21:21 on the clock. Check yourself. Okay? So I hope that somebody learned something from this and understand that when we pray to God for something, that doesn't mean that the package is going to come in the way that you want it to be. That doesn't mean that when you say, hey, God, I want to do this. Hey, I want to do this. Hey, I want to do that. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be this. I want to be this. I want to be a chef. I want to be this. You got to realize that He's going to prepare you based off the lessons that you need to learn so you can conquer that specific thing that you ask. Because if you ask, He will give. I asked God to help me to learn forgiveness. I don't want to have any hatred in my heart, for my dad. And I really honestly didn't want to have that in my heart, and God put me through a specific lesson for me to learn. It sucks that I had to learn that way. You get what I'm trying to say? If it was my choice, I would have probably wanted to know the lesson a different way. However, I am beyond thankful to know how. You know what I'm trying to say? And it's very scary when you've been, if you're someone that's been in the doctor, let alone multiple times, let alone when you have no family, no friends that's there, it can be very, very scary. And that was also during the year of COVID also. You know what I'm trying to say? So you just never knew what was going on. It was a lot of anxiety up in the air. People was losing family at that time. It was just a lot of stuff going on. You get what I'm trying to say? So I really just pray and I hope that everybody that hears the tone of my voice that don't harp on the fact of doing people wrong, but focus more on the word of learning how to forgive other people, and to know that when you ask God that you want to learn forgiveness or you want to learn this, that know that when He give you a test or when He tell you to do stuff that you don't understand why He's asking you, know that it's for a reason. Learn and know that when you learn the lesson, it'll all make sense to you later. It'll all make sense to you later. Okay? So I love y'all. I hope y'all get something from this episode. And I will see y'all in the next episode. I love y'all. Bye.